What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Snake Pit. This is episode 228. Before we get into the guest, I would like to give a shout out to our sponsor, Post Baseball Academy. They're teaching the fundamentals of the game, creating great work ethic and teamwork. So shout out to my father out there in Post, Texas, teaching the young cats baseball and the fundamentals of baseball. And, you know, we love baseball over here. Shout out to Team USA. You can contact them at 806-474-9565 to enroll your kiddo into the program. I believe they do, baseball and softball. So whatever one you fall into, you can do either. So that's pretty cool. So shout out to them for doing something for a small town because, you know, they don't really have opportunities like that in small towns. They usually have to come up to places like Lubbock or, you know, bigger towns and bigger cities. So it's pretty cool to see them doing that. And it's cool that it's my father doing that, and, you know, a bunch of family and friends helping out. Today's guest is Dave Clayton. He runs Cast Studio C. He's part of the 806 Collective. You know, he's a working class artist in West Texas, and he came on today to have a very heavy conversation. Yes, it is about suicide. It is about death. It's a heavy conversation. Re-listening to it, it's pretty emotional. It's pretty tough. So if you struggle with those things, be warned that is what we talk about. But I do believe it is important to talk about these things and to discuss these things in our lives. They're all around us. You have to be nice to people, man. It's one thing I learned re-listening and doing this episode is just you do not know what people are going through. It could be the very person that's very close to you. So I hope you get something out of this, and I truly hope we can help change some lives with this episode in particular. So here you go, guys. I hope you enjoy it, and shout out to Dave for coming on and talking with us. I hope you guys get something out of it. Thanks, and we'll see y'all.
So, bullshit artists of West Texas.
No, man, I like that one. It's
yeah, working class artists, man.
Yeah, man, let's get into it. We have Dave Clayton in the building. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. We're going to talk about your art and some other things. But like you're saying, let's talk about what you do a little bit, if you can explain it to some people.
Oh, yeah. So I am, just a little bit of a background about me, a little bit. I'm 34 years old. I'll be 34 in like a couple of weeks, so I'm just rounding up. I'm from West Texas. Like, I grew up in Plainview. I lived in Amarillo, and then I lived a little bit in Lubbock for a spell. Moved to Amarillo, and then recently moved back like a year ago. And so, like, I like to brand myself as a working class artist. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, and with, you know, a foundation in illustration and photography. But multidisciplinary, what that means is, like, I do other things, like I do 3D graphics, I do screen printing, like you're seeing right here.
Hell yeah, dude,
that's the main thing. Yeah, that's the main thing we're going to talk about. That's that's my main avenue right now. Probably like main medium that I'm really kind of trying to communicate in is screen printing and making printable media. And then I'm going to school at Texas Tech, 34 years old. You know, I worked in IT for, like, I got out of the Army back in 2012. And I moved to Lubbock, stayed with my brother for a little while. That didn't work out. Ended up, and we'll go back to that because I wanted to talk about, you know, just the whole thing with, like, Peter and that other stuff, right?
Yeah, we'll get into that.
We'll get into that. But just a little bit about me. Like, I moved away, and then I worked in IT, and then I realized just how much I hated it. The reason why is just because it was just like I was always solving somebody else's problem, and it was never their fault. You know, it was just like, you know, if the printer broke, then, you know, that's my problem solved. And if it wasn't something that was done immediately, like, it was just like, for the amount of work that I did, in relationship to the pay, it was like, I was working like a good solid like 18 hours a day.
Damn.
If not more. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then there was always like crappy employers that would screw you over, earn you overtime, or people that wouldn't pay you more than $15 an hour, which back then, like a couple of years ago, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Now $15 an hour, like that's still kind of okay, but they ain't worth nothing.
Yeah, it's kind of getting baseline now.
Not when eggs are like $5 for six for a dozen.
Yeah, dude.
It's like $5-6 for a dozen.
Yeah, so have you always been into art your whole life?
Oh yeah, my whole life. As a child, I was. I don't think you could like pull me away from a sketchbook. I was always drawing, and I mostly did like little cartoons. I did Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons, and then me and my twin brother, we had this like kind of little comic book where we made. We had this monkey named Moochie, and we would like make comics about this monkey named Moochie and this fox, I was always really into like one of the goals one of the childhood dreams that I wanted was to be a cartoonist and to work for a newspaper and to generate and to make content for a newspaper and stuff. And I got to do that in Amarillo for a little while at the college at Amarillo College for a little bit, but I don't know, like. Whenever I grew up, like I did not grow up in a loving household. I unfortunately, my parents were not good people. So it was like an escape for me to escape that kind of trauma. And my parents were just two human beings that should have procreated, but they did. And they did it 3 times, but, so it was just like, and then whenever, I was 14, my parents just decided like on Christmas, that they didn't really want to deal with me anymore. So I got put up for adoption. 14 years old. 14? My freshman year in high school.
Dang.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for my grandparents, who knows where I would have had. It took years to formalize a relationship with my twin brother just because of the dynamic of the family situation of like our parents putting us against each other.
So they only put you up?
They just put me up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's rough, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Talk about just...
Ginger?
I'm dumping over here.
So, yeah. So...
Yeah.
You're 14.
I'm 14. It's like on Christmas Day, I open up my Christmas presents. It's freaking art supplies. And then freaking cops show up, CPS, they sign me over to the state. And all of a sudden, I'm no longer, my parents no longer have rights over me. I'm in a foster home with a bunch of random kids. I had no idea what's going on, So, and if it wasn't for like, my parents are Mormons, and if it wasn't for the bishop, Joe Lockwood, if it wasn't for him reaching out to my grandmother, they would have lost me. They would have never known like what happened to me or anything. I would have known like what was going on with my brother or my little sister or anything, but yeah, no, like I finished out high school with my grandparents, and then from there I went to jewelry school, studied to be a jeweler for a little while, for about 1.5 years, and then realized that, there's really only like, there's no like real, there's no career in jewelry unless you're working for a large corporation or you already have an in somewhere.
So we talking like diamonds and stuff, like
like stone setting.
Okay.
I studied industrial fabrication, stone setting, gemology, that kind of stuff. And then I just like realized I was like I needed a way out of there, and then so I just joined the Army. I was in the military. for that free education. And they offered me $25,000 bonus. And that's a lot of money for a 19-year-old kid. And I blew that money, dude.
Oh, really?
They gave me that shit. Yeah. Flat screen TV, all kinds of crap, you know. But no, I did that. And then, I served in the military for 4 years. I get out, my brother's like, hey, come back to Lubbock. He's going through a divorce at that time with his ex-wife. And he's dealing with his own things, and it just doesn't work out with me and my brother living together. So in that situation, we both ended up homeless. Like I ended up staying with, Sarah Hunt's brother, Kurt Hunt, over with him on Indiana Street next door to Gray Rigney, who used to teach at Texas Tech. And he used to teach art at Texas Tech, and he was my landlord. And he only charged us $100 for rent. So we just ended up, I ended up staying there for a couple of years, and then finally, I moved back to Lubbock, or I moved back to Hereford because my brother gave me an opportunity in Hereford. There was a group of friends that were opening up a, computer repair shop. And that's really kind of like my expertise. Like when I was in the military, I built, like I tested jamming systems for like French Foreign Legion and Special Forces and stuff. And like, I worked on radios and I dealt in communications, And so I did that. I ran a computer repair shop with them for 2 years, and then reconnected with my family, tried to make things work with them, and it just didn't work out. And so.
You reconnected with your parents?
Oh yeah, I did. Oh yeah. I tried really hard. Like I tried really hard, and, like I did everything for them, like I would give them my whole paycheck if I had to, I wanted some kind of relationship with them. I understood, I was old enough to know, like, hey, that these are just human beings that made big mistakes over and over and over again. And they just didn't have really like the life tools to like really kind of like raise kids or know how to deal with twin brothers that fought all the time or just like the situations that they were in, And
that's often the case for a lot of the older generation.
Yeah.
You can't really fault them because once you learn about their life,
you learn about
and their upbringing, is like, oh, I can understand why you're the way you are. Yeah,
you really do pay for the sins of the father. You really do. Like when it comes down to I believe in generational curses. Straight up, and the generational curses is like how that grandchild was treated, how that grandmother was treated, during COVID, I was with my grandparents and stuff, and we did a bunch of genealogy, and, my grandmother had a rough childhood too, I kind of know where my dad got it from. It's my crazy ass grandma, but yeah, she had it rough, like her dad was not a very faithful person. And then it was during the Great Depression. And
oh, damn, that's a different time.
During the Great Depression, she had her mom would make her drive around in the car just to make sure that my great grandfather stayed faithful and stuff, And it's just it's just I learned a lot about them, and I realized I was just like, oh, my dad's not like this because he's a bad person. He is, but that's not entirely the full story. The full story is he's just dealing with the tools that my grandmother gave him, and my grandmother's just dealing with the tools that her mother was a very cruel woman, gave her, Yeah,
it was probably up till recently where we have the tools to fix it almost, or work on it
I
or
really
acknowledge
feel
it.
like
on it.
I feel like
Acknowledge
this like consciousness happened of like this isn't normal, and people just started taking steps, you know, to like
Right. Yeah.
fix those things, and it's really unfortunate, you know, to think of, but it's
Yeah.
just I don't know. You can't blame your. I try not to blame my parents for like some of the problems I have, and I didn't have a bad childhood, you know what I mean, at all.
Right,
But it's just
right.
kind of like they were just parents just winging it, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
I'm just the result of that, and I'll just fix it when I have kids, you know?
Right.
So throughout all this, you're still doing art. That's your
Yeah.
escape.
Through all this, I'm still like doing art and everything like that. Well, I'm staying with Gray. Gray Rigney was my landlord, and he lived next door to me. While that was going on, he was like kind of like while I was living there, he was like looking at my art, and he had very strong opinions about it. And he was just like, dude, you should definitely go to school. And I was just like 20, you know, I didn't think like, even though I went into the military for, you know, an education and all that, I didn't go in like, I got out of the military when I was 23, 24, and I felt like I had aged out of that, you know, like I thought like, you know, it just wasn't, I didn't like institutions, you know, I really like, I got picked up by the bureaucracy of the Army and just really rolled over and over again in the bureaucracy of that. And I hated it. Like, it was just like, you show up, you fill out some paperwork, and you sit there and wait, you know? And I just like, still to this day, I really hate dealing with any kind of bureaucratic bull crap. Really hate it. But I just thought I would just get lost in the sauce, whatever. And there was a lot of fear, you know, fear of failure and being like, okay, well, you know, I like literally sacrificed, you know, I was injured in Afghanistan, you know, I got a TBI, I broke my back in Afghanistan and stuff. And I like really made some real sacrifices as a young man. And so like, for me, it was a fear thing. It was like, I don't want to go back to school because, you know, like, what if it doesn't work out? Then I just wasted a good chunk of my life, you know? But like, you know, probably about 2019, I realized that I hated it, like the IT world, working in managed services, being a mid-level, like technician, you know, like you're just going to get kicked on and nobody respects anything that you do, even though like you're the guy that's holding the ship together. So I was just like, all right, well, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to do what I want to do. Cause like, if I keep going, like there's nothing good's going to come out of this, you know? I can't just be making a living for a living, you know? Like, and
yeah, we talked about that recently.
Yeah, like making a living for a living, and then the living's not good. You know, like that's kind of like the bullshit we're dealing right now.
Yeah,
like all of us. You know?
I know, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, freaking my homegirl, she's working 2 jobs. You know, and she's like barely getting by. She has to bust her ass for that. You know, just wait on the bus, do whatever she's got to do, and it's like, man, you know, it's like how much living are we going to be doing? You know, when are we going to start living? You know, like I'd much rather be doing what I absolutely am supposed to be doing and making nothing and being poor than to be working for somebody else and not be poor. You know,
when did you have that realization?
Yeah, probably like 2019.
Yeah,
I was like, all right, dude. Because like I was like, you know, I was so passionate about what I was doing, and I understood like even in my private studies, I would like buy books. I would like, you know, teach myself like these different skills, like illustration and photography and these other things. And I was just like, man, I really like, if I want to be taken seriously, I need an art degree. You know, that's the only way that any kind of like any gallery space is going to take me seriously. You know, if I do Jord. And the thing is, though, I don't really like, I understand that we're supposed to be doing Jord, like exhibitions and things of that nature. But I don't like it because art is so subjective. It really turns into like a popularity contest. And often that's all it is. It's just one stupid popularity contest. You know, it's like, it doesn't matter like if something is objectively good or not. You know, it's like if the person, if there's not a cult of personality behind that individual, then like, you know, like nobody gives a crap. And even then, like if you think of in terms of like my Instagram, like I hustle on fucking Instagram, right? And so like even with just hustling on Instagram, not doing paid promotion, like I get maybe between 120 and 60 views on my stories a day. And then like I'll maybe get like between 60 and like between like 45 and 60 likes on a tile post. You know, that's just me like really busting my ass for that. That's me sharing it to like 20 other people and be like, hey, share this, you know?
Yeah, man.
That's
I
bullshit,
feel you.
dude.
I feel you. I quit playing that game just recently, man. I can't do this no more.
I don't like that game.
I don't
man. I
either.
don't honestly
I'm
don't
done.
really give a fuck. Excuse me. I don't
You
really
can say whatever you want.
I know that, but also like I'm trying to make sure that we have like clear sound bites so that the college can use this, you know?
Okay, fine. That's
So
fair.
I'm not trying to cuss so much, you know? But yeah, I effing hate Instagram. I have to do this song and dance for all these likes, and then I have to do reels and show people my process and stuff.
I asked another artist this. I'm going to ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you think Instagram kills creativity?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just imagine how many really fantastic artists there are out there that give up because the algorithm did not select them, you know?
That's kind of the point I was trying to make when I asked the question. Like it's the algorithm that kills it all.
Effing algorithm, dude.
Yeah. It's kind of sad.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
And it used to not be like that. Like I remember Instagram probably back like 5 years ago or something like that. Like you would get so much traction for everyone would see your content.
Do you think it was the chronological order thing that killed it?
I don't even know if it's that. I don't even know if it's the chronicle.
I feel like that was
Is
the
it the
beginning
money?
of that.
Yeah.
That was definitely the beginning of it.
Yeah, I think it was that. And then it was just like it was chronological order.
It just became this like, I feel like I guess like all social media sites take this turn. It's like it goes from just like a social platform into like a business tool.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a double-edged sword. You know what I mean? Because there are so many benefits and there's so many ways to utilize these tools. But it's like even if you're utilizing them correctly and like looking at your stats and looking at your audience, you might get, you know,
And I'm always looking at my stats.
Yes.
All the time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like these are pretty good numbers, you know, but at the same time, they're like
I'm trying here.
they're like little breadcrumbs
Yeah.
compared to like what your content's actually worth.
Yeah.
You know, it's bull crap.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Man, I know. I feel you.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about this? It's right here on the Instagram. So
Yeah. Okay.
You have it?
We can kind of like, I've been like chronologically getting there.
okay, well, let's keep going.
Yeah. So, you know, and Peter, I've known Peter, like I knew Peter probably like in 4th grade or so, you know, like, my earliest memory of Peter is him. Like there's a choir teacher, Mr. Barry, in 5th grade in Plainview, Texas, who was somehow allowed to paddle kids. And I remember Peter getting spanked for cussing in class. It was pretty funny. But he was actually closer to my twin brother than he was to me. Him and my twin brother were way closer. And but you know, I moved away and then just started going back to school and stuff. Printmaking was just kind of a problem solving situation for me because I really honestly believe in the democratization of art. I think art should be accessible to everyone. I think, you know,
Do you mean like teach it at schools or money?
I'm talking
like,
about in terms of social enrichment, like in terms of everyone should be able to afford fine art and to be able to have it in their home and to look at it and to be enriched by it. I think, and then there's a distinction between like something that is consumable, like a commercial product, and something that's actual art. Like a lot of things that we're like involved in today, like a lot of the exchanges that happen at First Friday Art Trail, a lot of the things that are being bought, it's really just kind of just like they're like imitations of commercial products. I think that's largely due to the fact that there's no like people are like too afraid to like express themselves in a way that can be subject to scrutiny,
So it's all, are you meaning it like as in like an artist can be this insane creative, but in order for them to get noticed, they kind of have to choose a safer path versus a more unique path.
Because they'll get kicked out of the First Friday Art Trail.
Oh, I don't think it's that. You definitely have to like stay within the guidelines of what.
Or do you mean as in like just staying afloat type stuff?
Yeah, people are like, because like you have to think about like what you're actually exposed to. It's superhero movies. Just dumb movies, dude, like superhero movies, like, Fast and the Furious, like any kind of like, or like this crazy horror genre, you're just exposed to commercial products, like things that corporations get together. They have a bunch of, schmucks in a room and they decide like what people are supposed to like and not like.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is though, it's like, as a young artist, there's no philosophy being taught in school. There's no kind of like deeper thought being, being generated. And so whenever they make art, they're reflecting what they see in the world through the lens of the things that they know, like the things. If they don't have a philosophy background, if they don't have any kind of like introspective like personalities, they're going to regurgitate what they see around them, and that's going to be superhero stuff. That's going to be like commercial products. That's going to be like it's just going to be a bunch of junk. And I don't like. I kind of want to do the opposite of that. I want to make art that isn't necessarily fair in the sense of like, it's not like fair in the sense of like, if I'm telling a story or something, like if I'm telling a story through my artwork, it doesn't necessarily have to be a true story. You know what I mean? Or if there's like deeper meaning to it. There's subtext. I'm working within the subtext to tell that story, Yeah. Like
there's something to pick apart.
There's something to pick apart. And then, the something that's to pick apart is me, because I'm using this as a representation of myself. It's not just like, there's not another layer to it to protect me.
Right. This is my extension.
This is me. This is who I am. When you're buying my art, you are endorsing me to a degree. You're not endorsing like, what is it? The new thing that's on TV. What is that zombie thing? What is it called? Yeah, it's not. You're not endorsing The Last of Us. You're not buying a graphic that mimics The Last of Us.
Yeah,
that represents that. You're not buying. You're not buying something that has no meaning. You're buying something that's already imbued with intrinsic value. And you're trying to like, when you buy the art, you have a relationship to it as a viewer. I'm very, I think it's very important to like having the relationship between like understanding who your audience is, like viewer and artist, like understanding your artist, like understanding like what relationship I have with my viewer, is very important to me. And then being able to like communicate with them on a level that they can understand what's going on, not just make like the most craziest, greatest thing in the world. You know, I don't need to demonstrate like a higher skill level or anything like that. I just need to be able to communicate well with them. You know, same thing, same reason why like newspapers at a grade reading level, you know, because they're not trying to impress people with their ability to narrate, you know, and they're trying to tell a story, you know. And I think, you know, for me going back to school and doing that, like I'm going all in with that, you know. I don't even know if I'm going to be being a successful artist, you know. I'm just doing it because that's just what I'm supposed to do.
Well, what is a successful artist?
Like, I mean, a successful artist is somebody to me that has like a good following, like even a cult following of people of patrons that, you know, that are willing to like participate in that, you know, dichotomy, you know, of like saying like, hey, you know, the dichotomy of like viewer and artist, you know. Sorry. But that kind of like I moved back to Lubbock, go to Texas Tech, right? Because their screen printing program is pretty amazing. And then I always wanted to go to Texas Tech because my twin brother and then also his wife are both like Texas Tech graduates. And I wanted to be part of that legacy. And then, you know, I also, you know, wanted to participate in CASP and First Friday and then the 806 Collective as well, because, you know, my brother, he was also affiliated with 806 Collective along with Peter, you know, and there had been like many times where like I've had like done, you know, whenever I lived in Amarillo, I would come to First Friday and participate in that within the collective at that time, you know, but I wasn't like a member or anything like that. And then when, you know, my brother, he didn't really get an opportunity because he became a member right during COVID. He was approached by Peter and he what do you call it? Like he didn't really get a chance to really work in the collective because it was during COVID.
Yeah, like there's like no First Friday for like a year and a half.
No First Friday for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that really was so close to killing the whole scene big time. And it really almost did. Like there was a lot of people that dropped off, you know, for better, or for worse, you know. Excuse me. But you know, so I joined the collective. And then that was probably back in July, right? And Peter, of course, is a good friend and stuff. I spent the whole year hanging out with him and everything and spending as much time as I could with him. And, you know, in July, and then I became a member. And then, you know, he was kind of like brought to my attention that the collective was kind of in dire straits at the time. The Sam Gatton, one of the original members, but also one of the bosses. They're kind of like coordinators. They're not really bosses. So I'm not really the boss of the collective. You know, we kind of do things by, you know, we kind of have like a group vote about things. I mean, there's some decisions that I make, you know, but like some tough decisions I have to make sometimes, but ultimately we try to do everything what's best for everybody else, you know. And it's just like the collective is really just kind of a group of artists that have like kind of agreed to, you know, we recruit artists that are a little bit of a higher caliber than you know, probably I would say probably like they're within their like junior year. It would be comparable to them being in their junior year of college. You know, they're starting to become serious artists, starting to. I
was going to ask, are you looking for artists that are like more like in their niche? Like they're kind of.
They're kind of starting to
settling
into their niche. You know, artists that are necessarily wanting to grow and you need like, you know, good ideas don't happen in a vacuum.
Right.
You know, it happens within your community, you know, of friends. You know, same thing with like, you know, with art. Like good art does not happen in the dead of night, you know, sometimes, but like it doesn't happen within this shell of like isolation. It happens with like the community of you experiencing life.
You got to pour into it, I guess. It's just like if you have an intention, but if you're around so much of other intention, you're going to be inspired by that.
Yeah, you're going to be inspired, you know. And
for sure.
Peter was like probably a big part of the collective in a big way, you know, talking about Peter Keltz. And you know, he was willing to work with anybody. He was a sweet, loving person. He was very like, he had very strong opinions about art, even if sometimes they may have been wrong. Or right. It didn't matter to him. You know, he had strong opinions about art. He had strong, like, and he was a great horticulturalist. Could make anything grow out of like concrete, you know. Very impressive artist. And he was just like really humble when it came to working with other artists and being willing to go the extra mile for them, you know, and to help them with their ideas and flesh things out. And he was a good studio partner, you know, but yeah, he brought me on to kind of like fix, you know, where we were at, you know. And you know, he was suffering with depression, and he had been battling depression pretty much his whole adult life. You know, he was like severely bullied as a child. You know, he came from a very loving family. Like his parents, like Larry and Sandy, are wonderful human beings. I love them to death. But it was just like, you know, the world wasn't very kind to him, you know, and he had like very strong feelings about, like, he just thought, like, you know, I just remember the conversations I had with him, you know, before, you know, the weeks leading up to him passing. You know, he became very apathetic with how really just jaded by how just fake people are becoming. You know, there's just like there's no deep love for anything anymore. People are not like willing to be vulnerable with you or to have deep conversations with you anymore. You know, people are like, you know, something happened after COVID, you know, and it wasn't just like, you know, wearing masks or whatever. It was a different kind of mask that people started putting on. And, you know, a lot of people just started, you know, being just willfully, just willfully cognitively dissonant to other people.
If I can speak on that, I feel like just with you bringing it up, I do notice that. And like, I've caught myself having this thought of like, I mean, granted, pre-COVID, my friend group and my relationships with people were just different, you know? Yeah. And then, of course, COVID drastically just turned our worlds upside down. You know what I mean? And so, like, now, you know, I do find myself with a different friend group, with just different people around me and stuff. But my depth of conversation is not the same, but also my comfort with conversation isn't the same either.
Right.
But it's almost just kind of like communication has gotten better, but it's also differed in a sense. You know what I mean? So I kind of do understand where you're going with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like people are not, and I get it, you know, like, I mean, I get it.
Yeah. No, because I'm the same way.
Yeah, with some people I'm the same way. Some people I'm pretty superficial with, you know, because you kind of have to be.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to, you know, because people are so eager to attack everybody, you know. You know, it's like, you know, who you're gonna let into your inner circle.
Yeah.
You know, what kind of person is that? You know, my brother's calling me. But yeah, like I just noticed that he went through a pretty bad breakup, and it was like the last like 2 or 3 weeks, you know, there had been like a couple of suicide scares. You know, there had been leading up to that, to him passing, you know, and, you know, I had been working with him. I had been like literally seeing him, hanging out with him like every single night, you know, like at Savage. I was meeting up with him every single night while also doing 18 hours of school, you know, and working on top of that too at the time. And it was just like, you know, it was overwhelming, because his mind was just made up. You know, he didn't want to be here anymore, you know, and he was like, you know, he thought that the person that he was with was the love of his life, and it was his end all be all, you know, and I told him, I just kept telling him, I was like, you know, and I believe this myself, you know, there's a time and season for everybody in your life. You know, you don't just have just one soulmate. Mm-hmm. You know, the soulmates that you meet in your life are people that are meant to be in your life for that time and season. Yeah. You know, and then whenever they go, you're supposed to let them go in peace. You know, like say like, God bless you. You were in my life. Mm-hmm. You gave me so much. You know, I've learned to be a better man because of you. Now, please go on and be a hoe somewhere else. You know?
The love I give you, you can keep.
You can keep.
Yes. Yeah.
But not my DVDs. You know? Definitely not my records. But yeah, like, I don't know. And he was just like obsessed with it. And then it was just like that. It was that Monday night, you know, and I was in the 3D Annex building, and excuse me, it had to have been a Tuesday night.
It was a Tuesday night.
I remember it. It was Tuesday.
Excuse me. Sorry, I'm getting over strep, but I'm not contagious, so.
It's all right. We need to be sick. That'll be good.
Dude, like, you know, let's beef it up.
Yeah, let's get our immune
system. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But excuse me. Just weed cough. It's not COVID cough. Yeah, it was Tuesday night. I was up at the 3D Annex building working on a model. It was bullshit project. You know, he hit me up. He had like called me earlier that day and told me he didn't want to do First Friday because he wasn't feeling up for it. And I knew he was doing stuff with his ex and everything. And I was like, okay, cool, no big deal. You know, and yeah, sure enough, you know, that Wednesday morning, like I always like, you know, Wednesday we had like been Good Vibes Yoga had been doing yoga. Like Michelle had been doing yoga in the space like 3 times a week or something like that. And so she normally goes up there like on Wednesdays to do yoga or whatever. And so I was just so happy to be out of like, I had a moment in class where I can meet her up at the studio to help her out with cleaning things up because, you know, Peter liked to stay in the studio and he liked to paint and, you know, he would always kind of leave a mess, you know, which wasn't a big deal. We just go up there and clean up after him, whatever, you know. And then, yeah, like I'm like on my way up there and then Michelle calls me and she tells me she found Peter, you know. Yeah. And so I turned around and I called my other studio partner, Peyton Scott. You know, she's the director of the RISE program at Texas Tech. I called her and I told her immediately. I was like, hey, I need you here right now because I need you to look while I handle this. I need you to take care of Michelle. And I get there, Michelle found Peter and everything. And she was just shaking, just in shock, you know? And then the police officers show up and stuff. And so I'm just trying to flag down, Chad and Zach Morris, and then of course Charles Adams. I'm trying to get everybody like, hey, this is what's going on right now, you know. And it was just, and then after that, it was just kind of like that was going on. I was reaching out to another mutual friend of mine, Michael Gauman, and I told Michael was childhood friends with Peter. And of course, we're just like crying on the phone. And I was like, hey, I need Sandy's number. I didn't have. So, yeah, and I had to like call and tell his mom. It was very heartbreaking thing to do, you know? And like, looking back, I wish I'd like handled that differently, but at the same time, it's like, it was better for me to tell her than for her to hear it from a cop or some stuff like that. And like, we still haven't gotten the toxicology report back on Peter. So we don't really know exactly, there was no note left behind, but yeah, he passed. And then, it was just like, I mean, what does the collective do after that, And, I mean, we shut down we're still trying to recover from that. It's been very hard. We shut down for a couple of months, and during that time, because there were warning signs, big, like, I mean, the guy could have like created a neon sign and hung it up in the studio, and all of us in there would have been oblivious to it. It was just like looking, I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? But like, we knew something was up. Like, his paintings were like alluding to like his breakup, like Into the Blue, right? It's obviously about his breakup.
That's the one that, yeah.
And then it's obvious about him killing himself, him taking his life. It's obvious about that. And we knew that, but we didn't think it was like such, because it was like the weeks, like I had made pacts with him, and I was like, all right, because, I suffer with depression and stuff, obviously I have, just dealing with the trauma of my childhood and stuff. Like I see a therapist once a week, I'm dealing with those things, not just the trauma of the childhood, but also like, the trauma that I inflicted on myself from my military service too, on top of that. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of put me in a position to where it's like, in order for me to function and be a positive force in society, like I need all the tools in my toolbox that I can get, So I've been seeing the same therapist for like the last 4, almost 5 years, and she's great. Latricia, she's amazing. Shout out to Latricia over at the vet center in Amarillo.
Shout out to you.
Yeah.
Hope you're listening.
Hell yeah. If you're listening, you're a real one. You're a real G. But, yeah, and it's like being on both sides of that. Like I had a suicide attempt in 2012, right? A failed suicide attempt. It was like unsuccessful, as in like I went all the way through and just came out on the other side of it. And when I came out on the other side of it, I was pissed at the world. I was pissed at myself. But the thing was, is the circumstances of that were, at the time were so incredibly circumstantial, and going through that, in 2012, and then experiencing a very similar situation with Peter, like 10 years later, it gave me just a really interesting perspective on, it's like, the thing was, it's like, when does a community step in and get somebody help, Like, yeah, we can it doesn't matter if it's their decision or not, what about like his absence, like just in the community, because there's so many people like in my life that I know because of Peter. That I'm just blessed. My life is blessed because of the friendships that he brought me, you know? And it's just like, for him not to be here, it's like the absence. And I think of what's so painful about his passing is because he was the underdog, you know, and we were all rooting for him, you know, in a very big way. It didn't matter like how well you knew him or not. You knew he was a good guy. You know, his art was incredible, you know, and we were just all rooting for him. We wanted him to succeed, you know, and he robbed us of that, you know, and he robbed himself of that. And that's a painful thing it's almost impossible to reconcile, you know? And it's like, man, you know, like Lubbock's a town of underdogs, you know, in a big way, you know. We're all trying to make it. We're all trying to trying to rub something together, you know, get something from it, you know. And it's like, you know, we all like in Lubbock, it kind of feels like we all have something to prove, you know, in a big way. And that's part of the reason why I love Lubbock so much is because you grind so hard here. Whenever you do finally go somewhere, you're like, holy shit, like this new place ain't nothing compared to where I was, you know. You end up becoming a whole nother beast, you know. Like they did a whole bunch of nothing with Patrick Mahomes whenever he was here.
Shout out to my boy.
Yeah, shout out to my boy, you know. Like, but tell you what, he's like what? He's been to Super Bowl how many times now?
This is his third time.
Third time.
5 in AFC championships.
Hell yeah.
Since he was a rookie.
Hell yeah, since he was a rookie.
Yeah.
Damn.
I haven't said much, man. I've just been listening. I'm sorry.
I know. Go ahead, dude.
I'm just,
sorry.
No, I'm glad you're. It's interesting because we talked about what happened.
Yeah.
Like that day it happened.
Yeah.
Then we talked about it with another friend this last episode we did. And I was talking to another friend about it, and he was even telling me he was like in that mindset. And you know, as a guy like me, I've never been in that mindset.
Yeah.
But ever since what happened with Peter in particular, I was like, oh man, because I was a big shit talker. But I did it for fun. You know, I wasn't trying to be mean or nothing. And I never really did it like directly to people, but I was like, oh, I gotta chill. Like, I gotta be an example. And I'm like, man, I gotta chill how you, I was just trying to say, like, you gotta be careful, like, how you talk to people, man. You know?
Yeah.
You gotta be, that's kind of what my mom's always told me, just be kind.
Yeah.
No matter what. And I was like, oh, that was really put into perspective for me whenever that happened. I was like, shit, we don't know what the fuck anybody's going through, really.
Oh, you really don't.
No,
you really
man.
don't. Like, it's really more important to be, you know, just be respectful and thoughtful, you know. But at the same time, it's like, you gotta understand, like, it may not be like, whose responsibility is it? I mean, you can go, at the end of the day, that has to be their choice. If they want to make positive change in their life. And the crazy thing was, it's like the last couple of weeks, that's what he was doing. Like Peter was like, you know, he quit drinking. He was talking to me and was like, all right, well, we got to double down on therapy and get back on our mood stabilizing medication. We were both taking gabapentin and you know, we were both like, you know, talking through it, you know, and it was really crazy because he was on probation. Right. And the week that he passed was the week he was going to be off probation. He had been on probation for 10 years. Yeah. For like, you know, for an unfortunate accident.
Yeah.
You know, that took place like 10 years prior, you know, and it's like, damn, dude, like you could have had it all, you know, it's like, but at the same time, it's like, it's inappropriate to say that he was selfish because we don't know what he was going through.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know, like his life is really, he's seeing his life through his lens, you know. Mm-hmm. It takes a tremendous amount of personal courage to to consciously make that kind of choice, you know, and you have to understand the personal courage against what adversity is he making that choice, you know. It's just like, you know, I practice, I'm really terrible, but, you know, I like stoicism, you know, I like that philosophy. And, you know, I don't practice it. I'm not up there like doing my daily meditations. I'm not like, but I think it's just really interesting how they talk about how you deal with adversity and how you deal with, and it's really like, you know, and how you're supposed to deal with somebody who chooses suicide, you know, and how like, and it's like, you know, if someone is suffering so tremendously in their life, you know, and that is the choice that they make, like whether it's not for us to understand, it's not for us to, you know, we just like I said with, you know, people are in our lives for a time in the season, right? Like we're supposed to just like let them go with peace, you know, and be like, you know what, Pete, like I love you, man. I love you so much, but I don't understand why you did this. But God, I hope you're at peace, man. Like I hope whatever suffering, you know, it was just like, it's just a shame because, you know, they do say like, you're not trying to, he wasn't trying to kill himself. You know, he was trying to kill the suffering that he was experiencing inside himself, you know, and I just hope that he's at peace wherever he's at, you know. And then about the poster. Okay. So to finally get to the poster, because that was.
Hold on, man. I'm fucking getting emotional, man.
Yeah, that's okay.
Ooh. No, man, I'm glad you said that because I lost my buddy.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And like, fuck. It really took what you just said, like, I gotta let you be at peace, dude.
Yeah.
It's fucking hard.
Yeah, man.
Because I miss him. And he made some choices. Part of me respects him that he made those choices that ultimately is where he's at. But I'm fuck, dude.
Like,
Fuck.
Yeah, man.
That's fucking hard.
That's a hard thing to do. Yeah. Like, freaking, you know, I didn't have a choice in this situation because, you know, when I found Peter, I was talking to him literally. And I'm not trying to say like I was the only one doing this. There was so many people in his life that were talking to him and that were like trying to coach him and navigate him through this part of his life.
He was loved and he knew
was so
the love
loved.
he had. He knew it. Yeah.
Yeah. There was like he had like an army of people around him that just loved him unconditionally. And that were talking him through this. I was just one of many people that he had on speed dial that he could talk to, you know. And it's still like he still made that choice, you know. And it's like, man, like I can't sit there and point the finger at him because it's not my life to do that to him. It's not for me to do that. That was his life. That was his choice. God, I wish he was still here for my own selfish reasons because I love him. I just love palling around with him. I love, you know, he didn't really have good opinions about her, but I loved talking to him about it. You know, like I loved to argue.
A good friend group. I saw you.
Yeah, like I loved arguing with him about bullshit. I love shooting the shit with that guy. You know, and I don't feel like, you know, because I moved away, I didn't get the time that I got to spend with him. I watched him that whole last year, and him slowly wasting away, like him slowly coming to that conclusion, you know. And it was a painful process to watch, you know. It was so incredibly painful, but I didn't really have a choice, you know. I didn't have time, you know, because it was just like, you know, that situation went down, and then immediately after, like, I had to be in that space almost like twice a week. I still go up there twice a week to the studio space. You know, I didn't have the luxury of saying like, oh, I'll never be in that space again or whatever, you know. Like, it doesn't matter. You know, that space is platonic. It had nothing to do with Peter. I mean, that's not true. That space has a lot to do with Peter, but it had nothing to do with what Peter did, you know. And, you know, there was people that were left behind in that. Like that situation, poor Peyton, that affected her deeply, Like, I have to think of Peyton. I have to think of Michelle. You know, I have to think of Steve, you know, Forticade, you know, and Ronnie Dixon, you know, and Will, like all the people that were left behind in that studio space. What happens? Do we shut that studio space down? And then like, what happens? Like that support group of friends that we were all there for each other during that just all of a sudden goes away. You know, like how does something like that survive? You know, and I really had to step up in that situation. You know, like I didn't want to just, I want to do my best to heal that space, but I also want to be able to, you know, I had to bring in like, I called in all the favors, you know, to put on that vigil because, you know, it wasn't just about like me or what was going on. It was just like, man, what about like this community, you know? And it was like a Herculean effort to convince my twin brother to fly down from San Francisco and y'all guys saw the video, right? The vigil video, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he put that together in like 11 hours. You know, just all the footage that he had, you know, he had been documenting Peter for a couple of years, you know, and then I had to call in like old friends from Blanca Collective that he was also a part of. He wasn't just a part of the 806 Collective. He was part of Blanca. He was part of other organizations. And so like, you know, I called in all the favors and, you know, everyone showed up and it was a beautiful moment because we all showed up and we all got to mourn Peter and celebrate his life in that, you know, and then we had to do, you know, the viewing and the other stuff, which wasn't really like, you know, but, you know, not everyone's religious, you know what I mean? So I wanted to make sure that that space and CASP was, you know, we could all properly mourn Peter as a community. So then, you know, we could then properly mourn him, you know, like as a spiritual endeavor, you know, with the church and stuff. And I'm not even religious, you know, but, and that was just, you know, and I went through kind of like a metamorphosis in a way where it kind of made me realize like, you know, I just had to step up, you know, I didn't have an opportunity to sit there and say, oh, poor me, you know, this is that and the other thing, you know, it's like, oh, has nothing to do with me. Mm-hmm. It's everything to do with Peter, like, and our friends and, you know, and how does one deal with grief through that, you know? You like, if people see you fail, then that makes it okay for them to fail, mm-hmm. you know? Like, and I can't do that. I don't have an option.
It almost just makes the situation like 10 times more tragic.
10 times more tragic.
Yeah.
You know, how do you soften the blow of something so terrible, mm-hmm. you know? Like, how do you soften that blow? You know? Mm-hmm. Like, do you throw a pizza party? No. But like, I mean, it's like,
but you also don't diminish it forever.
Yeah, you don't diminish it forever. And I can't just like make sure that goes away. Mm-hmm. You know? Because
it's something he worked so hard for.
Oh, yeah. Know? He worked so hard for the collective.
He was so passionate about his community.
Oh, yeah, I mean? Totally. So. Absolutely. I mean, if it's closer, so you get back in my chair a little bit. Yeah, he was very passionate about the community. And he was like an active player, you know? He was always throwing events at Two Docks, you know, like he had like various events. He did some stuff with J&B Coffee, you know, and then there's still installations of his plants all around town, all over the place. You know, his art very much still lives around us, you know. He beautified his community, you know, just physically and just him being a part of it. And it's like, how do you handle a situation like that? And I talked to different people. There was a lot of voices just thought it was best that I just shut everything down, you know, and just being like, all right, well, this is not working, you know. And I just didn't think that was okay. That wasn't fair to That wasn't fair to Michelle doing her yoga, you know, her starting her business. That wasn't fair to Peyton, who I brought her on. You know, I brought, you know, Peyton on into the collective because she had lost her studio space because her grandmother died. And she needed a studio space to make art. And she needed a community and she needed friends to help her navigate that. So I bring her into the studio, and then Peter passes, right? And she's real close friends with Peter, and so am I, you know. And she's there with me going through that, you know. And like, what do I do with her then? You know, does she just go away? No. Yeah. She's like, unfortunately, I say that unfortunately, but I love Peyton very much. She's unfortunately a part of my life now, you know, like so is Michelle. I can't get rid of them. That's just how it is. You know, they're just a part of my life, you know, for better or for worse, unfortunately, but they're great. They're great people. I love them very much. But the poster is about Peter, you know, this is from, I'll just like, so like, you know, he had his sketchbooks, you know, he left everything there, you know. And so this is like just, he had like kind of like a collage of things in his sketchbooks of just different ideas that he had that were just never really quite fleshed out. And this is like a magazine clipping from like the 1970s or something like that. He was a very interested in cheetahs. He loved cheetahs. He really loved like there's these 5 brothers. And he loves the story of the 5 brothers of like, there's the 5 brothers in Africa, 5 cheetahs that like were kind of like in a coalition together. And like a group of like a pack of cheetahs is called a coalition. Like they were in a coalition together. And he loved watching the story of these brothers just basically, you know, live their lives on the savannah, you know, and he kind of like used cheetahs as a way to like refer to himself, you know, like as a spirit animal or whatever.
He had the tattoo.
Yeah. And he had the tattoo. Right. Yeah. And it was just like, you know, this is just, you know, this piece is about just kind of like, is about Peter, his relationship with his ex. And then also, you know, my branding's in the background, kind of like as a way to symbolize just like how, you know, his friends were just kind of like caught in the middle of that whole situation. And, you know, poor Megan, you know, not to mention her name or anything like that, but you know, she had been mentioning for months, you know, like that Peter needed help. You know, she was reaching out to her parents, to Peter's parents. She was talking to a lot of people. And it was just like kind of like one of those things where it was just like, you know, like going back in time, if I could go back in time, I would have just kidnapped him and like stuffed him in the pavilion for a week, you know, 2 weeks, you know. Like, and, you know, I think it would have been all right, you know, but same time, it's like our society failed him too, because it's like, who's going to pay for that? His parents? Is he going to pay for that? Are you going to pay for that? You know, it's like, there's no way, like life just kind of just failed this poor person, you know? And it's just like, you know, and then you can sit there and say like, this is like a one-off situation, but it's not, dude. Like how many people like in our community and just like, even like, dude, like even the last year that, you know, we're talking about Peter, but there's other people, you know, there's other people that have passed away, like that have killed themselves.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
Is there if you could answer, like, how can we prevent this from happening?
Like, how can we prevent? Like, I don't know. I really don't. Like, there's something systemic within our social groups, you know, where people are too afraid to be vulnerable, too afraid to have introspective thought. and to say like, hey, you know, these are the things that I'm feeling. And it's just like, you know, like, and I think there's almost like, if they were to say it, like, you know, we already have terms for that. We call it trauma dumping.
Right.
Right.
That's what I was thinking about, because people there with trauma dumping, there was that whole wave of like, I don't have the space to take this on.
I don't have the space to take this on.
Looking ass. Okay.
That's what I was going to say. One way is you can listen to your friend.
Yeah.
You just listen to your people around.
Yeah, but
you,
the thing is, though, is there's only so much listening you got to do. Eventually, at some point, you have to step in and say, like, hey, all right, well, you know, you need to get help.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it's I don't care, like, how many hotlines you post on your Instagram story. Suicide hotlines. Ain't nobody calling that crap. Mm-hmm. Ain't nobody using those resources. And it's not like to sit there and say, oh, those resources are there, let's use them. You know, it's just the bureaucracy behind the act of using those things. It's in itself just soul crushing. Mm-hmm. I have to like pick up my phone, call, press 1. Like, am I going to kill myself? Press 2, whatever, you know, like, and then finally you get to somebody who has to pretend to be empathetic to a situation that they have no relationship with, you know. It's like, you got to start having hard conversations with people. And then also, like, I think there's like an accountability. Like, you have to challenge their thought process. And be like, no, man. Like, I'm sorry, but, you know, and then also, I think to prevent, you know, we need to, like, social media causes a lot of that. Causes a lot of the, you know, especially with the algorithm that we mentioned earlier, right? Mm-hmm. You know, you bust your ass all day on something that you think is spectacular, and you post it, only gets 4 likes, you know, or 13 or 15 likes or whatever, who gives a crap, you know? And then, like, what does that do to your self-esteem?
People get crushed by that. People get crushed
rushed.
I do, because I don't get likes.
But it's
I get crushed about it.
But
too,
it's even
man.
like, you know, it's even stuff
likes.
like, it's like you have to feel like I have to share this. I have to like this, you know, for somebody's sake. But it's also kind of like, if it's not shared, if it's not liked or not commented on, people have busy lives, you know what I mean? But it's also like, it's so easy for people to take it so personally, and so like, what, did I do something, you know, or like, why aren't they interacting with me? Right. Or like, they saw it, why didn't they, you know, cheer me on? Why didn't they tell me this is awesome? You know, it's this weird thing where like, I've seen people react that way, but also it's like, I've even gotten my feelings hurt. But it's also like, I have this mentality of like, people don't know me on social media, but
they don't know me.
But this is the only way they can. But I don't know. It's
people have never met me ever.
It's the best, ugliest sight.
Yeah, it's the best, ugliest sight. People have never met me once in their life, and they have strong opinions about me. Yeah, which I think is hilarious, because I was like, all right, dude, you don't like me? I'm like, bro, you've never met me, and you probably should be more scared of me than anything. But that's neither here nor there.
Oh, gosh.
If you don't like me, you better stay away from me. Yeah, I don't like you either. Uh-oh. But I'm just kidding. I like everybody. Not really. No, I don't. But it's just like, damn. It's like, how can you have such a strong opinion about somebody you don't even know? You know, and social media creates that, you know? So you can get into a situation where it's like, you can be like, you know, something gets drum up, and then all of a sudden you're no longer invited to the party.
You're canceled.
You're canceled. You don't even fucking know why. You're like, what? What did I do? You know, and that whole thing's been so weaponized. You know, there's it's like there's like, you know, the whole, you know, virtue signaling. You know, you got people pretending that they're like they're the saint, and they can never do anything wrong, and that, you know, they're like this completely like, infallible human, you know, and then they turn around and they weaponize that and they're like, oh, well, look at you and look at you and look at you.
And that's it's a fine line, because it's just like, you do want to be a safe space for people, but it's also like, who the hell told you you're the safe space?
Yeah. Who the hell told you you're the safe space? And that's another thing too. It's just like, you know, one of the things where I saw that it was kind of a little bit too much is that I did have people come and reach out to me. Like I was going through I'm still going through, like, I'm not in the best health. Mm-hmm. I'm certainly like, you know, my sobriety is very questionable. And it's like, you know, I'm going through this thing right now, this grief, you know, that's very real for me. And it's like, I still like, it's like, there's people that will hit me up and kind of just, and yeah, like, they'll tell me their problems, but I don't have a relationship with them, you know? So I'm just absorbing all of these things from them. And I apologize for doing that earlier, but I needed to give y'all guys context of who I am and like where I come from and stuff. But and I'm just like, man, I just don't. And I've told them, unfortunately, I'm like, I don't have the space to do that. I personally, like, I don't think I can go through a situation again where I'm talking to somebody every night out of killing themselves. I don't think I could ever go through that again.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, I did not, like, I'm sitting here right now telling you I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, I can only love somebody so much. Mm-hmm. You know, and I was challenging his suicide ideation. I was telling him, I was like, no, man, like, this girl is not the end all be all. Mm-hmm. You know, there's better things out there for you.
Yeah.
You know, like this, and not even that. I was just like telling him, like, he felt like, you know, poor Peter, like he didn't have his GED. Like, you know, he was trying to make something of himself. And he just felt like, you know, the society had just completely, you know, discarded him, you know, and he was in a position in his life where he was such an incredibly beautiful person. And just honestly, there was not a woman that didn't want to sleep with him, you know, and that's the honest kind of truth, you know, like, God bless him for that. Like, but, you know, he was so beautiful, you know, but when it came time for any kind of like important relationships, you know, where like no woman wanted to take him seriously when it came to like any kind of serious relationships or anything like that. He felt lost in that, you know, and this is just like from my perspective, from what he was able to communicate to me. Mm-hmm. And it was relatable because I get it, you know, like as a man, like you're expected, like it doesn't matter if we're living in this new feminist world, a man is still expected to provide. Like a man is still expected to feel, to absorb the brunt of the world and then to protect their household, mm-hmm. you know? But, you know, the thing is, though, our society does not give a rat's ass about the mental health of men. Not even a little bit. You know, you're just supposed to take it with a grin and a smile and move on, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's just like, it's tragic. Because mm-hmm. there's people, genuinely good people around us that are just suffering in silence, you know, that don't even don't feel like they either like don't have the courage to say anything, or they feel like they're going to be shamed if they do, and they probably will be, you know. You know, I don't know, like, you know, it's also just like, you know, probably, you know, hookup culture is probably not a good thing, you know. It's like, we should probably have reasons to be that intimate with somebody on that level, you know? Not just like a fat ass, you know, but that's there too, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah. Like, I mean, that's there, that is a reason, you know? but it's like, it's just, I think we all need to start like kind of reevaluating our, like what we truly believe in, what we truly believe in, our philosophy, like what we think deeply about the world. And, you know, the only way that we can like be better people and be better stewards of our community and to each other is to actually give a shit, you know, on some basic level, give a shit, you know, be like, hey, you know what? Like, you know, like that person may not be sitting at my table, eating at my table, but I want that fucker to eat. You know what I mean? I want that person to be around because it's like, it doesn't matter. I just want them there, you know? Yeah. Like we all have that one person where it's like, you know, we don't really fuck with them, you know? But dude, like in their absence, what would happen? You know?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do there? You know? I think, but so what's happening next with the studio is that, so Texas Tech kind of reached out to me last semester. They were like, hey, we want to do something in space, you know, Professor Yu and Sungmi, her first name is Sungmi, and you know, she's my print professor, and she, like, you know, I just soldiered through it, you know, this semester, and it really sucked. And, you know, she was, you know, a great mentor during that whole period or whatever. And she came to me and she said, you know, hey, I'm thinking about bringing on this guest resident artist next year. Her name is Tanya Torgensen. You know, she's from, I think she's from like, hold on. Let me double check where she's from. She's from Minnesota. And she's from Minnesota. And she has her BFA from the University of Minnesota and her MFA in printmaking from Syracuse University. You know, her artwork is regularly exhibited throughout the United States. And she's coming here, like she's going to take over the 806 studio. It's because, like, how do you heal a space in that scenario? Do you burn a bunch of sage and do a bunch of witchy shit? No, you do not, because that's superficial crap. You know, like, how do you actually do it? You know, you have to, like, because, you know, we really only had like a few options. The options were for us to let somebody else take over the space. And then what would they have done in that space? No one knows. They probably would have done some like bullcrap healing yoga, or they would have fumbled the bag, you know, easily, you know? And so that's part of the reason why we decided to stick together and then stick it out in the space together. Yeah. You know,
at least to see it through.
Yeah. We're definitely seeing it through, and there's been a lot of growing pains with that. But, you know, we also took on Studio B because Peyton, and I understand like where she's coming from when she took over Studio B with Mallory at Fox and Faye. And, you know, it largely is to do with the fact like how she handles grief, and she handles grief very differently than I do. And it was a traumatizing experience for her that I invited her into. I didn't have to call her. I'm blessed that I did. Blessed that I did. I could not have called a better person. You know, just because of just like the training that she has from her expertise with the school, and then also just like her, you know, her experience that she has, you know, but she could not inhabit that space anymore. So that's why we took over the lease at Studio B as well. So then we could still keep Peyton a part of our family, you know, and she could help us out, but we do different things. So Tanya's coming in and she's doing this whole, I could probably pull it up and show y'all guys. Can you cast to this, or?
Well, you might be able to, or
I can like.
Is there like a link?
Yeah, let me
send it to the snake pit on Instagram.
Okay, I can do that.
Maybe Bradley can open it.
Let's see. This is a long one.
Yeah.
My bad, dude.
Go to those requests. No, it's all good.
Yeah.
You can go as long as you want.
Cool.
Maybe that's not what it.
Let me go over there.
How you doing over there, Brandon Lee?
Just listen. Just listening.
Intense conversation, you know.
Sometimes they need to be had, man.
Good grief. Yeah, I just messaged it to you. That kind of like gives you the space. I sent it to you.
I'll send it to you sent it to my.
I sent you your personal one.
There you go. I sent it. Brad.
Yeah. And that just basically explains exactly what's going on. This is what we're going to do with the space.
Okay.
Like completely gut it out and do this kind of like dystopian. You know, the artwork is about like just the fluidity of life and death. That's one of the things that Tanya said a couple of times when we were like interviewing her.
And this will be available this next First Friday?
Yeah, next First Friday to the public.
Oh, okay.
You know, and you know, we want as many people as we can to go through and have that experience. Because it is a very powerful, especially in the context of the space, it is a very powerful experience. Her artwork is incredible.
So this is at Studio C.
Yeah, that's my studio. Yeah.
Okay.
And we got like a really solid group of people at the studio right now. We got
Is Riley with you?
Yeah, we got Locust Mag. We got Analog Junkie.
Oh, okay.
We got Ronnie Dixon, and then Steve Forticay, who's like the freaking manager of like Bar PM, Local, and Atomic. He's an incredible painter. Just a great friend, just a great guy. And then we also got Will too, but Will doesn't really do much. he just pays his dues, and I'm cool with that.
Nice.
And then at Studio B we got Fox and Faye, Mallory, and her events that she has, and then we also have Peyton. So we got a solid group, and then we're also actually trying to recruit more people. So, but that's probably going to happen like here pretty soon.
So the 806 Collective keeps on moving.
Yeah, it keeps on moving, man.
That's good.
Yeah, it is. Like you have to think like there's been a lot of incredible talent that has come out of 806 Collective. Like Adam Mozo, he invented like the first packable kayak. You know, out of that studio, he did that.
I remember seeing something about that.
Yeah,
okay.
he did that. Freaking, Grant Willington, I think his last name. I think he owns a graphic design firm. I think it's called Ink Design Firm, if I remember right, or Ink, or whatever. I don't remember what it is. Of course, my twin brother, whatever's came out of it. he's well accomplished in his own. Daniel. Yeah, Daniel. Yeah, 480p. That's 480 Productions. Is his thing.
Yeah, for a while I thought you were Daniel.
Yeah, I know. People be doing that, man.
Do you know Josh Josue?
Josue?
He's got the green hair.
Yeah, it's my
He's
boy.
like,
Man.
I remember one time we were at Flips and he was like, dude, is that Daniel? And I was like, I don't know.
He was like, I don't know, man.
This is a while back.
Daniel, I'm bald. Daniel's not, Yeah. And that's because he takes hair supplements and stuff.
Well,
yeah.
If I start going bald, I'm going to do that. So,
dude, do it up. Do the keeps.
Yeah, I will.
That stuff
as soon
really
as
works,
I start
dude.
balding, I'm going to the
really
keeps,
works, man.
I talk too much shit because no disrespect, my stepdad's bald, and I've grown up talking so much shit to him about because I've always had long hair and he's bald.
Oh my gosh, dude, you're gonna lose it.
And I was like, I just know it's coming.
It's coming for you.
Yeah,
man.
so
It's gonna happen.
Because you keep slicking your shit back.
That too. More so that.
Slicking
Than,
it
Wearing a
back.
hat.
Wearing a hat.
What do your
Yeah.
uncles on your mom's side look like?
no, we all got long hair, so I think
So,
we'll
We
be
should
all
be
right.
all right, dude.
He's got a girlfriend hairstylist. And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah, that's cool.
stop slicking it back. Stop wearing hats so much. Why are you sleeping it with it pulled back?
I don't sleep with it pulled back.
Sometimes you do.
Well, when I'm fucked up, yeah. Like I just forget.
Where I'm told.
Yeah, my bad.
No, it's cool. But yeah, this
tell my
is like kind of like this is what the installation's going to look like. And it's Project Dissolution, and it's a dystopian Garden of Eden filled with images of floral, insects, decomposing figures.
Now,
And it's all done with wheat paste. So it's screen printed, right? Like this. And then you do like the process of that is you do like it's like a 2 parts water, 1 part wheat, and you make it into like a paste, and then you slap it like on the wall, and you can just like literally throw it on the wall and it'll stick. And like, you know, whenever you like want to take it down, all you have to do is just like spray it off.
Water.
Yeah, it just comes off.
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah, you guys be sure to check it out. March 3rd at the First Friday Art
Yeah,
Show.
March 3rd. That's my
So this
birthday
next
too.
one.
Yeah.
Nice.
my
34.
34.
Yay.
Oh, dirty 30s, baby.
Hell yeah. We'll be out
Love
there.
them dirty 30s, man. Love them.
We'll be out there asking questions.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Like, totally come out there and
We'll
ask
come
questions.
out and ask
Yeah.
some more. Stump the people.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I'm gonna get this from you on Friday probably.
Yeah.
We'll hang it up in the studio.
Buying it today from you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, cool.
well,
All right.
She's
Good.
gonna buy it. I'll get
Yeah,
one from you
totally.
Friday.
Yeah, totally. That's cool. Yeah, I'm gonna give y'all guys one of these too.
We'll hang this up in the stew.
I'll give you one of the ones that are not like gonna be like sold or whatever.
Okay.
Exclusive.
It's an exclusive.
Is it okay if I buy this, or you prefer?
Yeah,
that
no,
I
that's
wait?
why I brought it.
Okay,
That's why I brought it because
I remember
you
talked-
told me
I
to
talked to
bring
you
it
about
up.
it.
Bring it.
Oh, I didn't know you. He was saying, "When are y'all gonna buy it?" I can't on Friday, but I didn't know it was you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy
I
one.
talked to him
Put it
last first Friday.
put it up here somewhere.
No, like
We'll
this
figure
is
it out.
Baby's getting framed.
this one's ultra rare right here because it's a misprint.
We cannot hang this one in the studio, but you can have that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
YouTube will take us down.
I
Oh,
framed,
YouTube because of the titties.
Yeah,
I framed
Titties.
everything. Yes, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll hang that
thank
one
you.
up though.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna give you both of
Yeah,
them.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah, for having me on.
hell yeah,
You-
it's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Anything to plug? Anything to tell the people?
Oh, plug, man! Just make sure y'all guys like check out, check out what's going on with our Instagram account, like at 806 Collective. At the 806 Collective. We also have like Studio B, which is in the what is it, the bio, and we are looking for new members. So if anyone is interested, you can email me your like 150 to 300 word like artist statement just about you and what you do, and then like 6 images of your artwork to be reviewed, like to have a formal portfolio review, or your Instagram handle so we can see like what you're we're not going to judge you based on the likes because that's stupid, but we are going to look at like the content of the work and see where it's at. But yeah, we're definitely looking for, specifically, we're looking for somebody that, that's willing to help us out with our social media and to help us book events. That's one of the main things that we're looking for specifically. And, with the collective, we're all team players. We all help each other out, and there are dues involved. It's like $30-$40 a month, whatever. But you get access to like not just the 24-hour access to the studio space to work, but you also get access to like cast facilities, which is like it's cheaper than what you would be paying cast. Cast is normally $50, so we're like about $20 cheaper. And you get access to the print studio, the metal Urgy studio, the metal shop, and then the ceramic shop. And so you get all kinds of access with that. And then we're always hosting events, and And there's like plenty of opportunities to sell your artwork and your wares and your artwork and stuff. So if you're interested in becoming an 806 Collective member and be part of like the community that we're trying to develop here, just email us at 806collective@gmail.com. And then we'll get back to you. You know, we have meetings every Sunday at Studio C. You know, we also like taking walk-ins if you want to come in and pitch us an idea or something, you know, like just come in and be like, hey, I'm part of the collective now, you know,
Get involved. People get involved.
You know, and definitely like if you're an artist, if you're a young artist, it's very important to be involved in a community of also up and coming artists for you to grow and to learn from, you know, especially if you're an independent artist or even affiliated with the college. Like it's really important to have that support group. Because, you know, to be an artist is a very difficult thing to do. You know, it demands so much of you and so much of your creative talent to create something that's meant to be consumed by the world, you know, that's meant to be like, that's meant to enrich our community, you know, and you need to be supported and loved through that. So yeah, if you want to be part of our collective, totally do that.
Bradley, got anything?
Follow me at Bradley Noel Garcia and keep a lookout for an upcoming announcement. I'll let Jen talk about that.
Follow Lords of Film with a Z. Follow me at Hellasoft. Follow me at Texas Chainsaw Alchemist. Book me. I know you're getting your tax returns now. And you can come see us at season 3 next Wednesday for another movie night. We're going to show Mandy. And it's free. So just
when is that? 22nd?
Please come hang out. Yes, next Wednesday.
22nd. Yeah. So
yes, just chill. Bring yourself, bring your snacks. Whew. Let me expose you to a Nicolas Cage movie. And
yes. Yeah.
Follow Lords of Film.
Heavy conversation, but they're important to have people.
Yes.
Follow all these people and subscribe to the YouTube.
Get involved in your community or just come out and just show up. You know, like Peter is the first person that took me to Two Docs. Mm-hmm. He is the first person that showed me what CASP was. It wasn't even his studio. Went to some other girl's studio, and God bless her, I don't know her name. You know, was
it Rachel? Like Rachel Gilland over at Studio G? Was a photographer?
So. She had like a lot of materials in her studio and a really cute little dog. It wasn't.
It could be a couple of people.
It wasn't Casapora leather. It was a cross.
Okay.
I don't know, but I went to Two Docs. I met up with him, and that's where I met this guy Jeremy, and I had a beer with them, and they showed me that girl's studio, and then from there I went to another place. But I mean, just
CASP is a cool place.
Yeah, but I feel like
really cool,
and it's so strange because it's like I never considered Peter like. I don't want to say a friend, you know, but like even a good friend. He was just somebody I knew, you know, but and it's just so ironic that you said it because it's just like he didn't know what he was doing, you know, like he was just like, hey, come hang out, and he just exposed me to this world, and then from there, faces just got more familiar as I came out, you know, to these things, and then I would just see him around, and very tragic, but what. Just, you know, I know a lot of people just have these instances with him that, you know, God bless him, you know?
Yeah, God bless him.
I hope wherever he's at, you know, he's okay. And yeah.
God bless, guys. Be nice to people.
Be nice.
We'll see y'all.
Be a good neighbor.
There you go.
You know?